Hello, everybody. Welcome to another exciting episode of Jimmy's Jambox. We're here. We're back at it again, and we're going to get on into it. But before we do, as always, please make sure to like, subscribe, push all the buttons, do all the things. You know, I don't know where they are, but you do, and I trust you. With that being said, here's a quick word from our sponsors. Organic herbs and botanicals, skincare and edibles, wellness for body and mind. The Brothers Apothecary. Fine teas and remedies. Ronald Records. From indie gems to classic hits, discover the heart of local music. With live shows all the time, up close and personal, and regular releases on their in-house label. Ronald Records. Supporting the community, one track at a time. All right, thank you all so much for watching again. Shout out The Brothers Apothecary, Ronald Records, and Portland Water. Thanks for keeping us hydrated. And with that being said, let's go ahead and get on into it. Here is today's guest.
What's up, everybody? I'm moneykidd.
Hello. Thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, why don't you tell us a little bit about, who you are, where you're from, what you do, give us that Tinder profile of your involvement with music.
I'm a West Coast artist from Portland, Oregon.
Oh, yeah.
And I've been making music for a couple years now.
Okay, cool. And what got you into music initially?
Honestly, just having fun with it at first. It wasn't even serious. Just did it with friends. And then, eventually I just liked it and just kept going at it and making it on my own time.
Gotcha. So, and were they already doing music and you just kind of jumped in, or did you all
so none of them would do music.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it was just kind of you were like, no, I want to try this one day, and it just stuck?
Yeah, it was kind of just us having fun as a group, and yeah.
Oh, yeah. And then, is anybody else in your family music at all? Like your parents or aunt or uncle or anything like that?
My father did play piano a little bit.
Okay, cool. Yeah. Cool. And did he do that for a band at any point in time, or does he just like to play?
No, just on his own time.
Okay, I gotcha. And what kind of music was in your house growing up?
A lot of jazz. A lot of people don't know this about me, but I'm actually Latino. My dad's from Peru, so
cool.
We listen to a lot of Latin music and stuff like that.
Gotcha. Okay, so you have a pretty wide base of just music experience in general.
Yeah.
I dig that. Now, before we get into more of what you do in the present day, I do have a couple foundation questions I like to check in with everybody on. And this first one is one we ask early, it's one we ask often, and it's definitely a crowd favorite. What was the first album you ever bought with your own money?
Whew, that's a good question. The first album that I think I actually ever bought was a rock album.
Oh, okay.
It was, I think, Seven Nation Army or the White Stripes.
Okay, cool. Yeah. Hell yeah.
As a kid, I was really into that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's definitely a quality one for sure.
Yeah.
And then what was one of the first live shows you ever went to that was specifically one you wanted to go to?
So going back to my sophomore year of high school, Travis Scott, that was around the time Travis Scott was kind of on his up.
Yeah.
On his ups, So at the Memorial Coliseum in Portland, that was my first ever live concert.
Oh, damn.
Travis Scott concert.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Okay, hell yeah.
Yeah.
Damn. That must have been a wild experience.
It was crazy.
That's a pretty high bar for any show you go to after, I imagine.
Yeah. As a 16-year-old, it was pretty wild.
Yeah. I can't even begin to imagine. Although I guess I was about that age. The first live show I ever went to was Ozfest 2005.
Oh, wow.
And so I'd never even been to a local show before that point. So it's a jarring experience when it's something on that scale.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
No, for sure.
Oh, yeah. And then before we officially get into now, do you have a defining moment where you decided you wanted to take music more seriously?
I think it was a little bit after I graduated high school. I didn't really know what I exactly wanted to do with life, but I did know that I was really into music as a whole, listening to it, making it, doing whatever, going to shows, all that. I think, yeah, a little bit after high school is when I really decided that I wanted to do music.
Oh, yeah.
I just didn't know the steps to take yet at that moment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, damn, I mean, even this far in, who knows the steps? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, they're always changing. But I dig that. And let's go ahead and let's get on into you in the present day then.
All right.
We're going to go ahead and get a super easy one out of the way first. How'd you pick the name?
That's a good question. So, well, one, money. I love money. I have a problem saving it. And kid with the 2 Ds came from my favorite basketball player growing up, point guard, Jason Kidd.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was just like a weird idea. Just came up with it. I was actually working at one of my Amazon jobs a couple years ago because I had a different name. I used to go as Big T, and then me and my coworker were talking about different names, just being silly, and I was like, I thought of the money. And he's like, well, do you know any basketball players? Because basketball players and money seem to always correlate.
Oh, interesting.
I don't know why. But yeah, that's just what I came up with. Kidd, Kid.
Oh, yeah.
Like Jason Kidd, but Money Kid.
I dig that. I dig that. That's rad.
Yeah.
Now let's go ahead and let's talk about your writing process a little bit. And we're going to break it up into chunks, but we're starting right at the beginning. So when you get inspired, you're ready to make music, what are some of the things you do to get a track started?
A lot of the times I go through a lot of beats. I love to listen to beats. There's so many things I've written that I don't ever actually like put in the studio or record.
Yeah.
I just love mashing up ideas in my head with the beats, certain sounds. So like if it's a really aggressive, hard song, I can get all my feelings out aggressively. If it's soft and sad, it's easy for me to do that too based on depending on the beat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And do you get your beats online? Do you have like people you get them from? Do you make them yourself? How do you go about like beat curation?
Multiple ways, yeah. I've gotten beats off the internet, beats off YouTube. There's a couple guys in Portland that I've gotten beats off of too.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I dig that.
Yeah.
And as far as like putting the words together, are you like pen and paper? Do you do it on your phone? Do you freestyle? How do you go about like getting the lyrics out there?
So, growing up, when I first started, I would use a pen and paper because I was always in school. I always had notebooks. Nowadays, not so much. It's just on my phone usually.
Yeah.
Notes, yeah.
Okay, I dig that.
Yeah.
And then once you get a track finished writing, so it doesn't have to be like recorded and released yet, but once you've gotten it to where it's all good to go, it's starting to memorize it and things like that, how long does it usually take you to get comfortable enough to the point where you feel like you can perform it?
Oh, man, it depends. Usually about a month after I feel like it's done.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I gotta practice it, revise it, know. I've definitely had my experiences both ways. I've thought I was ready to perform it and no one wasn't, you know.
Yeah, for sure.
But I've also had songs where it came off pretty easy. Yeah.
I dig that.
Yeah.
And when you're writing, do you try to like gear your stuff towards live, or do you try and gear it towards like studio and then figure out ways to adjust it for live?
I would say do it towards studio for sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then later, I'll ask for a live MP3 of my song or something like that.
Gotcha. Okay, I dig that. And now let's go ahead and let's talk about some of your music.
Okay.
So I went and checked out, hopped on old Spotify.
Okay.
And you've got music going back to 2023, so we're only a couple years into it.
Mm-hmm.
But even from the start, you've definitely got a vibe. Like Karl Malone, it's a really catchy track. Like,
appreciate that.
It really gets into it, and your beat selection is solid. It's very West Coast. Tell right from the start. And your delivery is a cool mix of like laid back and tougher tracks. Like you kind of have this good duality in like the way you approach it. And I did also see that you had a track, "Party by the Lake," with Swiggle Mandela and Bobby Bars.
Yeah, man. Shout out Swiggle, man. It's kind of crazy how things work like that. It was just at the right place at the right time.
Yeah.
And I ended up getting a track with Swiggle. He's a legend in Portland.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, man, shout out Swiggle. I appreciate everything he's done for the city and the community.
Yeah, very much.
Shout out Bobby Bars too, man. He's been a real mentor for me in this music game.
So.
Yeah.
Very much so.
Yeah.
And then I was checking out your most recent track, "Letters to My Haters."
Yeah.
It's definitely one of your tougher ones. The flow is just locked in though. And I mean,
this is a weird take, but I dig the like Jetson sound in the intro.
Yeah.
Just that like rising, like it just it, like immediately is like, all right, what's coming from here? But it's definitely a super solid track.
I appreciate that, man. Yeah, that track was definitely the title. Like, you know, there's not much to make of that track. It was supposed to be that way. You know, I feel like a lot of rap artists especially have some sort of hater, you know, because it's a very diverse world now in rap. There's so many different kinds of rap.
Yeah.
But I felt like I needed to get stuff off my chest without being dangerous. So,
Fair.
you know. So,
I could appreciate that.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. Now I am curious to know though, because you know you've got a pretty fair amount of music out there.
Mm-hmm.
What are some of your favorite tracks of yours to perform out of everything you have available?
Definitely Karl Malone.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because that one's just all about the come up, and it's just like a very just to the heart song, but also aggressive.
Yeah.
Party by the Lake is always fun, especially when I get to perform it with Swiggle.
Yeah.
And Bobby. I'd say after that, probably Day One. I don't know if you heard that one.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
Day One is one of my more softer songs. If you smoke, it's a great song to listen to. Yeah, no, those three are definitely like my favorites right now.
Oh yeah, definitely all solid jams.
Yeah.
Now let's look at some music that you're working on at the moment that isn't out. What can we look forward to with like new stuff that's coming out, either like stylistically or like presentation wise? What do you got cooking?
So I got a new EP on the way.
Okay.
I haven't officially announced it yet, but
surprise, y'all.
My followers know that I've been posting about, so I'm making an EP, this and that. And I'm trying to drop it before the end of the year.
Okay. How many tracks are you aiming for?
About 4 or 5 for the EP, yeah. My last EP was 4 tracks, I believe. Yeah. And it's the moneykidd tape volume 1. So this will be the second edition to that.
Gotcha.
And in the first tape, it was more, you know, explaining my story and kind of just like getting it out there, you know, letting people know who I am. In the second one, I want to keep a little bit of that foundation, but show a different side of what I can bring to the table too. Sounds, I'm using sounds that I haven't used yet in some of the tracks, and then a couple other tracks are kind of reverting back to the first tape a little bit.
Gotcha. Okay.
Kind of like a bonus, I would say, to the first tape.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And are you doing it all in one place? Are you doing it all by yourself? Are you doing it all over? Like, how are you going to get about putting it together?
Mostly myself, but I've been recording with, you know, local producers in Portland and all that. But yeah, writing process, beat selection, everything, cover art is going to be all me.
Nice.
So
I dig that.
Yeah.
Now let's take a moment and let's zoom out. Let's look at kind of music as a whole.
Okay.
What are some of the things about either like new music, if you're one of those like who's checking out the new all the time, or at the very least music that's new to you that you just started listening to recently that you enjoy or you're finding inspiration in at the moment?
So if people don't know already, I have a very West Coast sound. And that comes from my last 5-6 years of listening to music, you know, being on the West Coast, all the emerging artists that have come over the years. It's really helped me be inspired to create the sound that I've created. People like OGZ from Shoreline Mafia or Money Sign Suede. People probably don't know who that is unless you look him up, but he was a very good Latino artist coming out of LA. Rest in peace to his soul. Just a lot, you know, Dr. Dre, Eminem, just all those people like really inspired me to make music.
Oh yeah. No,
and just like hearing their stories through the music.
Yeah, very much.
So, yeah.
Now for this next one, before we move into the hypothetical questions, this next question is probably the densest question we have in the interview.
Okay.
But, you know, we've talked about your experiences, the actions, the reactions, but when it's just you and the music one-on-one, what does music give back to you?
I feel like it gives me freedom. Freedom lets me breathe, you know. It's a good way for me to get things out. It's an escape for me mentally, you know. It's done a lot for me. It's kept me out of trouble.
Yeah,
so,
I feel that.
So I appreciate the music always.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. All right. With that being said, we're going to go ahead and we'll move on to some hypothetical questions.
Okay.
And for these, Sky's the limits. The questions are all made up, so the answers are allowed to be as well. But this first one's pretty straightforward. If you could work with any one person, the only requirement is they have to be alive.
Okay.
Who would you want to work with, and how would you want to work with them?
That's a good question, man. Honestly, Eminem.
Yeah.
If it were ever possible, Eminem for sure.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I mean, just such a quintessential sound. You know what I mean? Like, he's been around forever. He's definitely made a huge impact on music.
Yeah. And honestly, like, yeah, making a song with him would be cool. But like, if it were even possible to like get Eminem in a video or something, that would be insane. Like, insane.
Man, I feel like just even watching him make something and like saying nothing would be like a million hours learned in minutes.
Exactly.
Oh yeah. And then subsequently, who's a local artist that you're aware of that you haven't gotten to connect with yet, but you would like to?
Figure Eight.
Oh, hell yeah.
Figure Eight.
Shout out Fig.
Sure. Yeah.
Shout out the Fish, actually.
Yeah, shout out Fisherman, man. He knows me. I know him. We've never really like linked up like that.
Yeah.
I've heard some of his songs, and I think he's talented, and I think maybe in the future it'd be cool if we could all make a song together, possibly even put Swiggle on there with us, you know?
Well, hey, I mean, everybody, you know what to do. Add him in the comments, but he is definitely super accessible. I'm sure if you reached out to him, he'd be able to make something happen.
Yeah, no, shout out Figure Eight, man.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And then for this next one, like I said before, sky's the limits, and it's pretty literal in this sense. But if you could perform anywhere in the world, you wouldn't have to worry about crowd access or building stability or power. It was guaranteed the best lineup, guaranteed the best show. It doesn't have to be a venue. It could be anywhere.
It could be anywhere.
Anywhere.
Okay.
Where would you want to perform?
Ooh. Man. There's so many places in the world.
No.
Miami or something like that. Just somewhere completely where I'm not from.
Yeah.
Just so I could just enjoy the environment, the vibes, you know, everything that place brings. Always wanted to go to Miami too. So
Miami's an interesting place. For sure. Definitely a good spot to party.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. All right. And then to wrap up the hypothetical questions,
Mm-hmm.
if you could get one more album from anybody, they could be alive, they could be dead, they could have not put out an album in 100 years, they could have put out an album yesterday. Who would you want an album from?
One more album. Like a solid album too. Yeah. It's a good question too. I would say Lil Wayne again, honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know he just dropped one like a year or two ago, but
always dropping something.
But you gotta love Lil Wayne.
Yeah.
Respect it, you know. He was a big inspiration for me too.
I would almost love like, it's been a while since he's done like a proper like concept album. I've mentioned this many times on the show, so this isn't a secret to anybody at this point. But the first album I ever bought with my own money was The Carter. Like,
just The Carter, not
The Carter.
Yeah, okay.
The Carter 1, the first The Carter.
Okay.
And it was cool to me because it isn't exactly a concept album, but he had concept segments. So like the intro is him bringing you into this house, and he's rapping about the house, like he's describing, like, and then the way he did it, like, I know what this house looks like. Like I know the stories, I know who's in every room. Like I see this house in my head.
Yeah.
And it's like, I feel like him doing like a proper full concept album where it was like almost storyline driven would just be such a wild experience to come from him, to hear like his version of a narrative, like from bell to buzzer. That would be such a cool experience.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, but I don't mean to railroad your answer. It is a super good one.
Oh yeah. No.
Hell yeah. All right, but with that being said, we're going to go ahead and start wrapping this up.
Okay.
What can we look forward to between, let's say, now and April?
Now in April, you guys should expect to see a lot more live shows. Definitely more music. I'm working on a lot of music videos too. I just released my first music video to Karl Malone.
Nice.
So if you guys haven't checked that out, go check it out on YouTube, moneykidd 503. But yeah, definitely just a lot more content on the way.
Hell yeah.
Still making music, still writing. But in this next 6 months to a year, I want to really push a lot more content out there. Yeah.
Well, definitely looking forward to that.
Get my face out there,
Yeah. For this next one, go and look straight at the camera. Tell everybody how they can find you.
You guys can find me on Instagram at moneykidd with 2Ds 503. Has my link tree on there to all my streaming services, and YouTube and all that stuff. So I appreciate it. Yeah.
Oh yeah. And then any other plugs, any other shout outs, anybody else you want to put on while you're on here?
11 Studios, man. Shout out 11 Studios. If you guys haven't worked with him yet, if there's any artists out there who are looking for a good engineer, go work with 11 Studios up in Vancouver. He'll get you right. And shout out Swiggle, shout out Bobby, shout out John Wavy, shout out Callista J, all my Portlanders, man, and Vancouver. Shout out them all, because we're really trying to push the Northwest. We're really trying to do this thing.
Yeah, hell yeah.
Yeah.
And with that being said, I've got one last question to go.
Okay.
But before we do, I'm going to steal the camera for just a second. As always, y'all, please make sure to like, subscribe, push all the buttons, do all the things. I don't know where they are, but you do, and I trust you. And one more shout out to the Brothers Apothecary, Ronald Records, and Portland Water. Thanks for keeping us hydrated. And with that being said, the final question. And this is entirely up to your interpretation.
Okay.
But what is an album you feel is more on the obscure side? It's a deep cut. It's one not a lot of people would know, but it's one you think everybody should know.
Honestly, because, I haven't brought his name up, but Phoenix Flexin', if anybody knows who that is, LA artist. His first album, Phoenix Flexin' Volume 1, that one I think everybody should listen to.
Hell yeah.
For sure. I won't go into his story, but he was in a group, got broken up, and that was his first solo album. So,
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, so that was like really his breaking point as an artist to like show the world like what he can do.
Yeah. Oh, damn, I dig that.
I respect it. Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. Well, I'm not familiar with him, so I'm excited to check it out.
Yeah, you should, man.
Yeah. All right, but with that being said, we're going to go ahead and wrap this up. Thank you so much for joining us today.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
Thank you guys. And thank you, Jimmy.
And this has been another exciting episode of Jimmy's Jambox. I'm Jimmy.
I'm Money Kid.
And we're signing off. Later, y'all.
That's a wrap.
This is not a podcast. This is a show.
Keep jamming.